Has anybody talked to you about Wilkes Land?
What I've heard that it's a portal. A portal takes you from one structure to another or to a vessel outside our atmosphere, like an invisible elevator. This particular portal was underground, inside a structure.
What did it look like?
It had a frame, had hieroglyphics, whatever the meanings were, we still don't know. But the structure or the frame of this portal acted like a wormhole from point A to point B, a moon pool.
A moon pool.
The description I've been told looks just exactly like a moon pool.
Okay, what is a moon pool?
A moon pool, say it's in a submarine that's very deep. You've got a hatch in the floor that is open to the sea. Water does not come in and flood the vessel. The ambient pressure keeps that water, but you can enter the water and ascend from it through this moon pool.
And so, do you mean that, using the word moon pool, that you're saying that there's something that's vertical that looks like a moon pool?
It looks like you're walking into the water, but it's not water.
Shape?
The ones I've been described of is square.
Square?
Yes, ma'am. It would be, I'm sure you've seen the movie Stargate. Exactly same thing, except the frame is square, not round.
I don't know what they think this is. I don't know if they think this is a game or another trend that we're setting. This isn't a trend. You hear that? We're done going to sleep. We're done listening to you guys. Once my people figure out what the fuck you guys did, like truly, trust and believe, it's never gonna be the same. Trust and believe that.
I was wondering about our yesterdays and digging through the rubble. And to say the least, somebody went to a hell of a lot of trouble to make sure that when we looked things up, we wouldn't fare too well. And we would come up with totally unreliable pictures of ourselves. But I've compiled what few facts I could, such as they are, to see if we could find out a little bit of something. And this is what I got so far. First, white folks discovered Africa. They claimed it fair and square. Cecil Rhodes couldn't have been robbing nobody because, hell, there wasn't nobody there. And white folks brought all the civilization because there wasn't none around. How could the folks be civilized when wasn't nobody writing nothing down? And just to prove all of their suspicions, well, didn't take too long. They found out that there were whole tribes of people in plain sight running around with no clothes on. That's right. The men, the women, the young, and the old righteous folks covered their eyes. And no time was spent considering the environment. Hell no, this just wasn't civilized. And another piece of information they had, or at least this is what we were taught, is that unlike the civilized people of Europe, these tribal units actually fought. And yes, there was some crude implements, and yes, there was primitive art, and yes, they were masters of hunting and fishing, and courtesy came from the heart. And yes, there was love and medicine, religion, intertribal communication by drum, but no paper, no pencils, and no other utensils, and hell, these folks never even heard of a gun. And this is why the colonies came, to stabilize the land, because the dark continent had copper and gold, and the discoverers had themselves a plan. They would discover all the places with promise. You didn't need no titles and deeds. Then they would appoint people to make everything legal, to sanction the trickery and greed. And back in the jungle, when the natives got restless, they would call it guerrilla attack. And they would never describe that the folks finally got wise and decided that they would fight back. And still, we are victims of word games. Semantics is always a bitch. Places once referred to as underdeveloped are now called mineral rich. And the game goes on eternally. Unity kept just beyond reach. Egypt and Libya used to be in Africa. They've now been moved to the Middle East. There are examples galore, I assure you. But if interpreting were left up to me, I'd be sure every time folks knew this version wasn't mine, which is why it is called his story.
All hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. Now some have died and some are alive, and others sail on the sea with their keys to the cage and the devil to pay. We lay to fiddler's grave.
I'm not sure if you guys can see. But look, just look. There's more to it than just some damn rocks. I mean, look at the bottom. Look at the bottom right in there. But the one I really want to look at is right over here. That might be a weirdo, but that's all right.
Did you pull up to the motherfucking party and forget the perks? Perk 10, I just popped the perk 10. Perk 30, I just popped that perk 30. Perk 60, I just popped 2 perk 30s. Perky dance, make me do my perky dance.
To this video right here that was sent in by Anonymous as the space station was down by Western Australia. Here's the line that was in the sky, and you're going to see the space station moving, and the line appears to be remaining stationary. So if this were some sort of a glitch, it would be moving with the camera and probably flickering on and off. That is remaining stationary, spanning well over 1,000 miles, quite possibly 2,000 miles. And then you're going to see the live cam turn off, then turn back on. You're going to see it turn off again. This video is around a minute long, and it turns off right there again. That is a second time it turned off, then turns back on again. This video is from December 10th of 2023 at 12:14 Universal Time. And there is a very distinct line, almost as if something is influencing the upper atmosphere of planet Earth, some sort of possible invisible energy that's creating this super bizarre, unnatural looking straight line that again is spanning half the Earth across the Indian Ocean, across the Pacific Ocean, and it's been noticed on December 10th and 11th by 2 different people, noticed by Lisa back on December the 9th. So
like black hair. We the only people got a certain texture of hair, thickness in hair. It calls curly or kinky, whatever you want to call it. Why is it the Koreans are controlling black hair care? At 85 cents out of every dollar goes to Asians and Koreans. Why are Koreans and Chinese controlling black hair care and black hair care products? Because you're not practicing group economics. I go to a Chinese place and I ask them to buy something from black folk. They won't do it. Some black distributors came right here to Washington, D.C., to 8th Street right over here, and said, we'd like to meet with some merchants, sell you some products. And the agent said, what do you want to sell? He said, we'll sell you some of the same products you got on your shelf right now. We'll sell it to you and give you a 25 to 30% discount. The agent said, we're not interested. The agent said, but with a 25, 30% discount, you're still not interested? They said, no. They said, why not? The agent said, you black folk don't understand. It ain't the money. It's that we only buy from our own people. You blacks are the only people that buy from any and everybody.
You've been following my work, you know, I don't believe in this. I don't think that we're on an oblate spheroid. For all we know, the Earth could be flat. And unless you're gonna start asking logical questions to deduce whether there's curvature or we're spinning, you're immediately gonna ask me, why in the hell would they lie to us? Why would they lie and say that the Earth is a ball? You mean these guys? Why would all the governments of all of the world agree to lie to the human population that the Earth is a ball? In my opinion, to hide God. If we're on a ball, we came from a Big Bang. Just so everybody is aware that does believe in God, the Big Bang doesn't include God. There's no God to the Big Bang. There's supposedly just an explosion and poof, we're all here, evolved for monkeys. That's the difference here. I used to be an atheist. I used to be a hardcore atheist. Like, yeah, we just spawned from amoebas. Totally, yeah. Viruses are real. Totally. And then I figured out that the Earth was flat. And I figured out that there's a firmament above us. And the first thing that I asked was, if there's a firmament above my head, who put it there? Yes, people, we're talking about the firmament here. Yeah, obvious. Polaris sits at the top, hasn't moved for centuries. Yeah, sitting right there. There's obviously a lot more motivation, though, for telling everybody that we're on a ball. Do you remember the Truman Show when he's in school and he tells his teacher that he wants to be an explorer and the teacher tells him there's nowhere else to explore? We figured out the whole globe, but we've been everywhere. That's the thing. They're lying. They're lying about that too. There's more land. Yeah, more resources. Past the Antarctic wall. If you're not up to date, there's this thing called the Antarctic Treaty, like stopping everybody from leaving the Arctic Circle. The 60th south latitude. Third page, check the Antarctic Treaty. On the third page, it'll say you can't go past the 60th south latitude without special permission from the government. So if they keep us within this circle and tell us there's nothing more, they can inflate the prices on all of the food, all of the oil, and all of the water, and the rest, and just basically make us slaves. This is how the sun works. It's called the inverse square law of light. If you didn't know, light doesn't travel forever. The sun's not 93 million miles away. It's local. Here's like a bunch of experiments that we did in the past proving that the Earth is stationary and that the sky moves, guys. Nobody seeing these? Guys, this is really simple. They convinced everybody that the Bermuda Triangle is dangerous and scary so that nobody would go sit out there during their launches. It's really simple. Once you realize the Earth is flat, you're gonna realize that there's intelligent design to this place. We have a God. And if you want to know my opinion, check out my podcast. I just posted an episode, 2 hours. Link tree in my bio.
Matter of fact, what it look like? If I had two of these, this is exactly what the ovaries look like. You know what I'm saying? And if I slice it open, you're gonna see all the little eggs inside.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So any women dealing with fibroids, PCOS, breast cancer, any hormone issue. If you eating pomegranate and drinking pomegranate juice every day, you Gucci. Okay. Now, you might think it's just for women.
Right.
No, 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 no. So there's punic collagen in here. Punic collagen is a tannin. It's a phenol. Talk about phenols all the time on the channel.
Yes.
But when you take punic collagen, you know what it increases within 2 weeks?
What?
Testosterone by 24%.
That's a high number.
24% increase.
That's a high number.
Not just that. When you take the pomegranate juice, it's a vasodilator. It has all of these precursors to nitric oxide. So we know why is brothers taking the blue pill, right? Why they popping that blue chew? Because they trying to get that erection.
Right.
They trying to get that nitric oxide flowing.
Right.
Ain't nothing gonna give you an erection like this pomegranate juice.
Wow.
To remain silent, and I honestly hope that you exercise that right. So overworked public defender who does not come from the public that you come from, defend your freedom half-heartedly. Son, you don't know what a trap house is until you step inside of a courthouse, shackled and cuffed like your ancestors, judge looking at you like a direct deposit on payday. You, my dude, are a payday, a quota with a quarter of your life hanging in the balance of Lady Justice. Can't see nothing but dark meat. You, my dude, are food ready to be consumed in the belly of the beast. Lucky that you got this far because police normally hold trials in the streets, silencing you like Grant or Gardner, or silence in a hole like Khalif. Will you take this plea bargain of legal jumble jargon, or wait up to 5 years to be judged by peers who do not look like you, think like you, hang with brothers like you? They rather hang brothers like you than hang juries because you remind them of their worst fears. Basically, my brother, you got two options. Tell me what I want to hear, or wait for a trial that might not come for another 3 to 5 years. I will make your bail so high that it'll force your mama to cry and say, son, I can't help you this time, motherfucker. I am the judge. That means I am your mama now. And I'm ready to give life. So you better start talking, or this gavel will be your last chance at freedom, or put the last nail in your coffin. I will bury you so deep in paperwork and red tape that by the time you get out of prison, your youngest son will be walking through those gates. Black men are being used as batteries, packaged, exposed, and exploited to run this country, jump, dance, and dunk for this country, basically being ran by this country like batteries. My brothers who are copper tone get used like copper tops, harassed when the copper stops, get a felony and they snatch us off our blocks. 100,000 of us black men are in and out of prison daily. You do the math, that's 100,000 nigga watts from Bed-Stuy, New York, Chicago, Oakland, down to Watts. My brothers are being used, abused, and often confused for batteries. It doesn't matter if it's drug dealing, credit card scam, murder, or assault, and batteries, 18 in the package. You might call them prison buses, but I call them the new millennium slave ships. Batteries call us double A's. That's African Americans going to the pen making pennies. Black men manufacturing clothes in jail for Old Navy, The Gap, and J.C. Penney's. Shoes made by Kenny's like batteries. Adults being used as votes. Get a felony, brother, in California, you lost your right to vote. Even these Proposition 21 laws got my young children being tried as adults. My babies are being used as AAAs, powering the country and spy for the CYA. That's why they call these motherfuckers charges. So we can power this country like batteries help fat cats' pockets get puffy behind my back. The judges calling me a jigaboo, Energizer Jungle Bunny. I can see the ads now. Niggas in prison, we keep going and going and going.
These are the Watchers. These are the Galactic Federation. This is what I've been talking about. They'll take out a nuclear warhead in a matter of seconds. Watch. Gone. Watch. Gone. These are the Watchers, the Galactic Federation. Pay attention, folks. That's who's been protecting humanity since its conception, brought in by God. This is our watchers, our protectors. It's coming out soon. You're going to find out. I've been watching the Galactic Federation for a long time now, and it's pretty amazing.
People walking around out here that are soulless avatars simply operating on matrix programming. They're living, but they're not alive. And they're all around us. They're all over the place. People that have never woken up to who they truly actually are. They simply are operating on the code that they've been programmed and given since they were born, since they were even in the womb, at gestation. The same code, just running on programming, never exceeding the programming, never reprogramming the programming, never editing it, never hacking themselves, just running on the pure code and living a complete lie, believing that they're alive, but they're not. Powerful stuff. I hope y'all pay attention here. I hope y'all, if you're able to wrap your mind around what I'm talking about tonight, if you can wrap your mind around this, let me see you in the chat. Let me see you guys in the chat. Let me make sure you guys are still paying attention. You guys ain't sleeping out there. This is deep stuff, man. This is some real deep stuff.
Recess is about over.
Yep.
Would you say more about that?
Well, recess, you see, school is a violation of the human spirit. School is a violation of the human spirit. You were not meant to sit in a box and be quiet and be still. And children know that. So they move. That's a violation to do that in school. All of us in this room right now, we can leave here and walk to California. I don't care what kind of medicine you're on. I don't care what kind of condition you're in. The secret is you have to do it at your own pace. The problem is when I'm doing it at somebody else's pace. You might be able to run or walk and average 50, 60 miles a day. I might just do 2 miles a day. The important thing is I get there. And so when you take a group of, that's why the super rich people would never send their children to a school. They have private schools where you do it at your pace. This is a game they play. And so they have to have recess or the thing would blow up.
A higher nature and a lower nature, right? Your lower nature loves it here. It's been here for 1,000, or well, it's been here for years, let's say 10, 20, 30 years. You reincarnated from 1,000 years back. It's been here for the longest. Your lower nature, when you die, is talking about your lower nature being humble and you dying. Your lower nature wants to stay around. So it's going to do everything to keep you around by magnifying everything on the outside of you. That's why the more spiritual you get, the more and more your world on the outside start going wrong. Because the spirit is more in opposition to the physical. That's why you see more people immersed into the physical. That means that they're less spiritual. You see what I'm saying? So the Buddha says, empty mind, full room. You got to have all that stuff in your house. Full mind, small room, empty room. You see, and that's the way it is. The more and more you elevate your mind, the more and more you stop needing material things. It's only mere trinkets. The more and more your mind is empty, the more and more you need that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now, this particular part, so what happens is your ego likes it here. It wants to stay. Then it meets with this demon called the cardinal zone. And this particular demon devours the ego. That's your higher self. It only looks like a demon because your lower ego, the physical you, is looking at it. But it's looking at the spiritual self. Jacob wrestled with the angel. He was only wrestling with his alter ego, the dark side. It's called a double side. The double self. You got a double soul. You got the soul that you know here, which is the doggone lower half, functioning off these two false eyes. Because your third eye, your spiritual eye, your first eye is shut down. Then you have another soul. And that double soul, in the ancient man, used to be made aware of his double. This the root word for devil. The double. Jacob is wrestling with the angel. He's wrestling with his own higher self. You understand? The only fear is the fear in you. As a man and woman thinks, so is he or she.
I'd like to begin with Fort Jefferson, which is located in the Florida Keys, making this one of the strangest structures in the world, in my opinion. Supposedly, they had slaves trying to build it for 30 years. Of course, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you will understand the narrative often uses these slaves or prisoners as their master builders, because we all know they have an artistic, steady hand. So 16 million bricks later, in 1876, they said, we're all done building it, and just left it unfinished. which is obviously the most logical thing to do, and just a brilliant idea. Even unfinished, it remains the largest masonry structure in the Western Hemisphere. Of course, this was found, and this story is completely fabricated, which is exactly why they had to turn this into a prison. Now that we have that story all laid out, let's begin to ask some basic, open-minded questions. Who decides that this is a good spot for the largest masonry structure in the Western Hemisphere, without any fresh drinking water, in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico? Literally. Is this logistically possible in this time period, to ship 16 million bricks onto this little piece of land? What is going on here? It's clear that the land was formed perfectly. Which company in the 1800s were in the business of land creation in the ocean? This is all the way at the end of the Keys as well. The story simply doesn't make any sense if you ask me. Just hire a bunch of slaves and prisoners. They'll get the job done. Don't even worry about it. They know exactly what they're doing. Now here's a map of all the star forts in the USA alone. Even the Statue of Liberty sits on top of one. I personally find it odd how these major cities just pop up all over the place. What makes a place so perfect that a major city develops, especially in the middle of the desert? Let's look at Las Vegas as an example, and go slightly northeast, and we will find the remains of what was once a star fort. Clearly, this star fort was hit by an extreme event, leaving just a pattern on the ground. Not only is there a star fort, but there is also some sort of monument right next to it. This was built in 1856, so we have a lie right off the bat. Let's continue. The story is absolutely ridiculous. It was the headquarters for a cavalry in the 1870s, and that was it? How exactly is it worn down like it was built 2,000 years ago? Was there a fire? No. Was there a war? No. Nothing? Really? Just naturally looks like this. The scriptwriter was surely cut off the payroll after this one. This was clearly hit by a direct energy weapon in my opinion. It's completely destroyed and isn't even close to its original form from only 150 years ago. Let's compare this to something else built in the 1870s and show that this is a total lie. Or we could just show something built supposedly 400 years ago. Even better. This is St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Looks good to me. No rust, nothing. Do you guys see any signs of weathering here? Let's go over this little island in the middle of the ocean and take a look at this very real and believable story. This star fort was built, but not up to their standards. So in 1672, Cornelius Spielmann ordered an engineer to redesign the fort into a magnificent castle. This project would turn into a lengthy, hard-fought build. It would take hundreds of years to... No, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It took them 1 year. Finished in 1673, 1 year later. And of course there would be no other star forts in the area, which is understandable. It's the one part of the story that I'm able to actually wrap my head around. Wait, what? What is that? Another star fort's right next to it? Okay, I give up. Here we have a second star fort on this tiny island, in the middle of the ocean. Making sense? Built by the Portuguese in 1529, of course. Its purpose was supposedly to control the trade in nutmeg. Their admiral was attacked and killed, of course, to give this Wikipedia page anything at all to write on. Otherwise, the page would have been basically blank, as they have no idea where this really came from or don't want us knowing the true story. Now, let's take a look at some cities that are in the form of a star fort, because this is normal and easy to design. Major cities into star formations hundreds of years ago. Simple. Let's go all the way to Palmanova, Italy together and take a look at what they have to say for themselves. Okay, right off the bat. This city was created in 1593, mapped out to perfection for an aerial masterpiece. What is the point of giving us the sky view, since the plane wasn't invented for hundreds of years later? Oh, they used the latest and greatest military innovations to develop this design for their city. The types of guns that were being used look like this during this time period. But when it comes to insane star forts, let's just chalk it up to military expertise and move on. Mr. Vincenzo Scamozzi is credited as the architect for this star fort. Scamozzi? Really? Scam. Ozzy. I'll tell you one thing that's scamming us. Is this BS story they're trying to get away with. In 1622, it was supposedly in perfect condition, and nobody wanted to live there. Is this a joke? Guess who they gave free housing to? Poor Venice was forced to pardon all their criminals and give all of them free housing in this star fort city. Just giving away star fort cities. Come on down. Anyone who has committed a crime, you are not only freed from jail instantly, but you are given a palace in one of the world's most perfect architectural places. Enjoy. Now, let's go all the way to Netherlands and see what they have going on over there. I'm sure it's nothing crazy, and all the stories check out. Oh, what is this? Another Star Force city in a completely different country? Anyone have any questions? No? Me either. I guess I have a few. Like, what is going on in 1593 that they knew how to create something like this? The star is literally perfect, not even off by an inch, and it is filled in with water. Yet they didn't even have modern plumbing figured out until the mid-1800s. Do I even need to go further to know that this was built by an advanced civilization? I will go further, but do we need to? It's literally not at all how we build towns. Yet, this is supposedly happening in 1593 and built to perfection and remains that way to this very day.
The last
War
ice
in the
age was
heavens.
artificially induced.
Right.
Right. So when you read and you read in the Holy Tablets of Malachi or in the Sumerian tablets, it talks about the war that involved the civilizations from all of those planets I mentioned: Saturn, Mars, Venus, Jupiter. Some of the planets, it's not the planet, but moons that go around the planets that was inhabited. And then some of them, the planets themselves, like Venus, was actually inhabited. So when the war break out between Inanna and Enlil started with a family dispute about what's superior, the Y chromosome or the mitochondria, right? And knew his father had told him, this is the Sumerian tablets, had told him about the superiority of the mitochondrial rulership, right? And on the feminine planets of the Earth, like Earth. There's other feminine planets. So the planet Venus is a feminine planet. Jupiter, that was the Lilith planet. That was the planet of the Lilith energy. So when they say that the Lilith energy, that Lilith got usurped by Eve, right? They're talking about the spaceship moon drove into the atmosphere and blocked out the energy signature that gave extensive power to certain sisters on the earth. These was called the daughters of Lilith, or the sisters of Lilith. So they was Saturnian priestesses. But they got usurped by males on the patriarchal domination. So that's why all of the judges used to wear the black robes. The Saturnian priests had usurped the divine feminine, the dark mother, which was that Lilith energy that comes in with Jupiter. So the women had to readjust, learn how to use the lunar energy, because that's how they created uncontrollable menstrual cycles, where the woman used to be able to control when she come into menses and to have a baby, and when not to. She used to turn her cycle off. If she wanted to have a baby, she'd turn it back on. She'd be 90 years old, she could turn it back on. Right? But most of the women in modern times aren't aware of the power that they have once they tune in to their own body. They get psychic images from the connection of the uterus and the pineal gland meshing with the neuromelanin at the cerebral cortex. Right? The vagina becomes a portal. And from the energy being funneled from the neural cortex or the brainstem in the pineal gland, it activates the portal. When the portal is activated, the woman is automatically psychic. We call it women's intuition. Women's intuition is her ability to distinguish if you're telling the truth or a lie just by how the energy feel when you said the shit you just said. So that's the moon blocking the energy, right? So the women took them a minute, but they adjusted. They figured out how to use something called moon magic. Moon magic in the metaphysics is called the silver key, right? And it's usually governed by tarot reading and oracles of varying different sorts. I Ching, the runes, the entrails, the seashells, they are different forms of divination. Reading tea leaves, all those are forms of divination that these women learn it to read it intuitively. They know, they see something and they know what it means, right? This ties back to their mitochondrial energy signature to the earth, because they become little antennas all over the earth, like Tesla coil antennas. Right? So when the women start waking up to their power, right? So we got to give it back to them. We got to tell them what they was denied information of knowing. Just the fact that they hear it activates something in their psyche that unlocks certain potentialities in their character and personality that changes the way the earth is being dealt with.
Just when you thought shit couldn't get weirder than Leave the World Behind movie, check this out. Oh, just wait for it.
The Russians always knock 3 times. I think it's just too superstitious.
I've seen pictures, but this is...
We don't talk politics. Here we are. One.
Hey, guys.
Wait a minute, what the hell is going on down there?
Oh, whoa.
We gotta get out now, guys. Let's get out.
Oh, my God.
Listen, do you read?
War has broken out below. And we were told to take the ISS by any means necessary.
If we got orders from our government to take control,
what do you suggest we do now?
the Russians got the same orders as us. And they just struck first.
Struck first. We're evolved species.
Oh, I'm definitely watching that shit.